اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لأغلق وخاتم لما سبق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وتسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أفضل الصلاة وأتم تسليما على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن هذا السادة التابعين وعلماء عاملين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مخلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, everything is okay. Just started the YouTube live. I was having some issues with it. Alhamdulillah, inshallah. I don't remember where we left off. Going into chapter 3. One second. We didn't have class last week because of the trip I was on when I got back. Kind of tired from travel, so I didn't want to do the class last Sunday. Inshallah ta'ala, we do it today. The traits of humanity, the traits of the training of humanity against the traits of Shaytaan. Shaytaan, minhu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that told our father Adam that beware of Shaytaan. Shaytaan is an open enemy to you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said in Suratul Fatih, Ya ayyuhan nas, wa'dullahu haqqa, that, O mankind, the promise of Allah is true. Ya ayyuhan nas, wa'dullahu haqq, the promise of Allah is true. فَلَا تَغُرَنَّكُمُ حَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. So let not the present life deceive you. وَلَا يَغُرَنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ غُرُورٌ. And do not let the chief text everything related into this about this ayat is related in this text in regards to not being deceived by Shaitan. Shaitan's only adversary to us is our nafs, and as much as we can. We got to continue being around those that help us remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Continue to be around those who be around those who help us in trying to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes being in the presence of righteous people, it rubs off on us, like being in the presence of unrighteous people rubs off on us. Either we're giving dawah, displaying dawah, or we receiving dawah. Explicit evil behavior is being practiced, and it don't have an effect on you. You don't be affected by it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the next ayat, and it's still related to this text, and in our everyday application on being aware that we have an open enemy to us, which is Shaitan. إنما يدعو حزبه ليكونوا من أصحاب السعير. That surely Shaitan is an enemy to you, so take heed of him. Beware of him. Treat him as an enemy. He only invites his party that when he's mentioning invites the party of Shaitan, he's talking about those people who Allah Ta'ala decreed is going to follow him. At one time they didn't, and another time they do. That's not talking about the people that constantly check themselves, constantly make tawbah. That's not the party of Shaitan. The party of Shaitan are those who this is what they subject themselves to desire, to want to be. They tricked by the life of this world. They allured by the life of this world. They're allured and find sweetness in doing the actions that pleasing their desires. This can only establish in taqwa in your life, in your behavior. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to put that desire to be aware of him in the heart. Even when the iman is low, a person who will also towards any actions that will put them in a position to where they have become bankrupt, their actions become null and void. So inshallah ta'ala, I'm gonna start with on disciplining the soul and protecting it from its illness. Let me go. All right, alhamdulillah. On a tablet or anything, I do it on my phone. So I have the text sitting right in front of me in hard copy, so I don't have to strain my eyes. Thus, ignorance is cured. It gives the category. Thus, ignorance is cured by means of knowledge. Stinginess is cured by means of generosity. That is by the person being open-handed with his wealth unnaturally until it becomes easy and natural. Persistently performing acts that are by nature humble. She who had mentioned, and I call Sheikh Abdullahi Ibn Muhammad and Folio rahmatullahi the Shihu as well, because he was a scholar in his own right. He wasn't mujaddid, and he wasn't he was in the level of mustahij in the school under the Shihu, along with the Shihu Uthman and Folio rahmatullahi. He was one of his top students, and also he was a top teacher as well. And so he put this into three categories. Mind you, the prerequisites of each one of these categories is that one has to consistently knowledge without action is dead. And generous. Not foolishly generous people, and helping people and aiding people in their illnesses, in their illnesses, whether their illnesses are addictions or their illnesses are splurging or temporary fix. Not being generous in that right. Knowing that what you're aiding towards someone, helping someone do some haram, which is not your responsibility. To dove into when you give. You give for the purpose and sake of Allah and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the same time, that person that has them problems, you be generous to them in the things which they need, that are in the guidelines of Sharia, that will absolve you from participating in the sin that they commit. And and this is this person, even if they're being the one who is arrogant, have kibr, is when they learn knowledge. Sometimes people, they become arrogant. All people, they become arrogant. So depending on the type of individual that they have developed themselves, the character that they have developed in themselves before they started to seek knowledge, and is related to their niyyah and their niyyah, their intention on why they are seeking this knowledge. Some people, they learn and learn and learn, and they never act upon anything. Some people, they learn and learn and learn, and they never develop an understanding in order to be able to transmit and teach what they learn, wisdom. And when you learn knowledge and then you teach it, you have to know the condition of the people who you're teaching. You have to know their condition. You don't necessarily have to know their way of how they easily learn or how they learn, but you have to know of their condition and you have to be patient with them. That's why it's better that if you teach a class with 5 people, it's easier to ascertain or figure out their certain level, everyone's level. And you can a smaller group, you can actually give each one individual undivided attention to help them in where they're lacking at. You're given a class and you're teaching, and it's a class of 30. Then that is something that is very hard to obtain the people's different levels of learning. So you have to be you have to be accommodating, meaning that you make yourself available. You know what I'm saying, to those who doing that. Then you got to be answering your phone a whole lot and answering text messages a whole lot, because you're gonna be you got to explain this topic. And you know what I'm saying, sometimes you may have to explain it in a different way depending on who you're giving it to. Sometimes you may have to quote unquote dumb it down so much to the point to where it don't lose to it don't lose once they understand it. Then so you give them help them with their baby steps. And one thing that helps the individual who learn knowledge and possibly become arrogant because of learning. What one thing to combat that is for them to look themselves in a way. You have to look at yourself and criticize yourself, where your strengths, your weaknesses, what you need work on, and you have to correct your intention that you're doing this solely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and make dua that Allah ta'ala don't make you among the hypocrites. Because you looking in the mirror, you have to wonder and ask yourself, why are you doing this? What is your real intent of learning? What is your real intent in seeking knowledge? So are you doing this just to be argumentative? Are you doing this just to show off? Are you doing this to make yourself on a pedestal, big headed? All of that is related to arrogance, putting yourself on a pedestal, being big headed, and having conceit, which is one of the blameworthy traits in the section of the soul and Umdatul Bayan and Umdatul Ulama, Umdatul Muabidin, and Umdatul Ubad. So we have to we have to take all of that into consideration. We A lot of times we have to do things that make us humble. A lot of them with feces. So if you just rodding out pipes or whatever, flushing out pipes or grease traps, this is what you're dealing with. So it's still humbling. Cleaning, being a janitor or a custodian engineer, to where you're cleaning bathrooms and you in toilets. One is to being a constant reminder that you go to the bathroom, and if you do not relieve yourself, defecate, you're gonna die. How can you be arrogant and you got doo-doo coming up out of you every time after you eat? So a person who has this type of this type of the struck on, the Sheikh, he said, thus all spiritual cures come about through refraining from all desirable things, in much the same way that a person endures the bitterness of medication in order to bring about a cure for the physical body. In this same manner, is all the reminder of the of the character flaws cured. So we got to take the medicine. What I'm saying? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed for all illnesses. We can't just incorporate the shifa only being for spiritual illnesses or illnesses as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is said that the Quran is a shifa, is a healing. It's a healing. It's a healing for all illnesses. It's something that is the doorway for us to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of the realities of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran and what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has explained and demonstrated in the Sunnah is in the next life. That's why for us, when we're living in this life and we're having fun, we have to take time every day to reflect on death. We have to. If not, then we'll run amok. We'll do whatever it is that we want to do. We won't adhere to anything that prevents us from being righteous. If we didn't think about death. And that's more so a reminder. That's a reminder to myself first and foremost. And as I get older, my focus is really my overall bottom line end focus is on preparing to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I had a lot of work to do. It's a lot of people that's older than me. I'm almost half a C note, half a bean, as they say in Philly. So that's actually half a lifetime. Inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless me to die at the age of 63, like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like Sheikh Uthman dan Folio, like Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu ajma'in. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Were able me to die at that age, which is not long away. I pray Allah Ta'ala give me more years and where I can to correct the wrongs that I've done and pay back all of the manner that I have taken that I have taken in my lifetime, and return back to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala with nothing on my scale to where a person can take rights from me and take some on Yom Qiyamah and take some of my good deeds. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't cause any of us to become those who are bankrupt. Those who are bankrupt in the hereafter are those who, where after Allah Ta'ala calls everyone that they're wrong to take their good deeds and give them they receive their sins. When the individual has no more deeds good deeds that he can pay, he start receiving where he's bankrupt and he's flung into the fire. So I pray that Allah Ta'ala don't make us. One thing that I notice about the many Arabs, and I'm not talking about just any Arabs. I'm talking about those who mother and father, so they was Muslim and they inherited Islam. If they don't practice any deen, these people, they keep the amana. They keep their word. They keep. I bear witness to many of them. They keep their word. They say something and they die by it. They guarantee it. They keep their word if they say they're gonna do something. If a manner is placed on them, a trust is placed on them, they hold it in regards to keeping their word. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that he has no iman, he who has no amana. He has no iman, he who has no amana. The one who can't keep the trust. That's what amana is, trust. He can't keep the trust. Pay back the trust. He has no iman. He has no faith. Call the topic of the text, but this is all related to Shaytaan Minhu, Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is all related to Shaitan trying to trick and fool us, with these illnesses. The categories of those suffering from spiritual illness. Like I had mentioned, a long time I had said that the Quran is a shifa, and like I had mentioned in many of the classes that I have given related to this topic, related to the topic of tasawwuf, uh, the path, the spiritual path. The Delilah always mention that develops a relationship with the Book of Allah. When the if the individual completes the Quran every lunar month, he completes the Quran every month, then many of the spiritual illnesses that that individual has, you won't see any sign or trace of it on them. And this is given the Book of Allah is full rights. Not just reading and completing, but reading with understanding and reflecting, because no one fears Allah more than the one who has knowledge. And what is mentioned by one who has knowledge, every Zoom is about to end. I don't know how long. I'm not gonna complete this whole chapter. I'm just gonna touch on this portion and the next portion, and then next week touch on complete the rest, inshallah, with the conclusion. However, the Sheikh, he says, however, in the categories. The first category is the person who is ignorant and heedless, jahilul ghafla, unable to distinguish between truth and falsehood, while at the same time he is not overcome by corrupt passions. This person is susceptible of being cured swiftly. The person the being cured swiftly. Mind you, this person who is susceptible to being cured swiftly is solely because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy on them and overcoming of not being overcome by corrupt passion. They may make their salat sparingly. They may do things, to being mindful of their of bearing witness to their obligation that they have. What was mentioned that as I was growing up, the difference between right and wrong. Distinguish between right and wrong, and distinguishing between truth and falsehood are totally different matters. It's totally different matters, because the person who can't distinguish between truth and falsehood, they are subdued by just about truth. They're disconnected. They're disconnected, and the falsehood may appear true to this individual, and the truth may appear to be false. But this category, there's some aid for them. Their cure is based off of based off of not just establishing a relationship with the Quran, but also being around those that can help them. Being an individual that won't seek out this help, but there'll be help. The second category is the person who recognizes repulsive traits and their shortcomings. However, he is overcome by is susceptible to being cured only when he diligently steers himself. Meaning this individual try to make change. That make them making change is the opposite of what their condition is. They recognize repulsive traits and their shortcomings, meaning that they observe and examine themselves, who also recognizes repulsive traits, but he believes that these distinguishing traits are obligatory or recommended. The reason so, the cure for such a person is very difficult. It is hardly hoped that he can ever be corrected spiritually, except in a rare case. So this third category is the person that they know to do it. So Allah Ta'ala, He never changes their condition from being in this category, in this state. The fourth category is the person who was raised from birth upon a very warped. There is some merit in the increase of evil and in the destruction of human souls. He even boasts in this repulsive trait and make them a means of typing to apply, trying to apply a cure to this person is like the proverb, indescript from training the wolf. Alhamdulillah, it's still on. I could probably finish this next section, inshallah. The next section is the objective of spiritual discipline. Spiritual discipline is related to muraqabah, related to work and training, training to change and correct and perfect your spiritual state, which it only comes with work. It comes with a lot of work. It comes with learning, practicing, making dhikr, making dua, being patient, observing the change that you make, trying to be mindful and not fall back into it. Normally, a way to maintain this, take an account and make tawbah at the end of the night before you go to sleep. The Sheikh, he says that then realize that what is intended here by disciplining the soul is not the complete destruction and eradication, returning back to moderation. Is related to not delving into your destructive traits. And so when you sincerely trying to do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you in an environment to where you can combat or try to recognize and combat that particular trait. This is a consistent thing. It's a consistent struggle. It's not just a one-time thing. This is a consistent struggle on correcting your character, and it's given us. This entails the passions and infinite anger being placed underneath the control of the intellect and the religion. So the passions and the infinite anger, you're supposed to control that with intelligence and with the ahkam that's in this deen, rulings and that are in the deen. All those who all right, okay, start it back up and go to the text back up here. There.
Damn! Who's that singer? Shut up!
All right, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Please forgive me about that. Justice or moderation can occur by means of divine generosity. as it occurred for the prophets and some of the protected friends of Allah, the awliya. Or it can occur by means of spiritual struggle, mujahida, spiritual struggle, by the avoidance of corrupt passions and by the perfection of character through two things: knowledge that distinguishes from him the difference between truth and falsehood, and two, the intellect which subdues both underneath the instructing direction of the deen, having love for Allah and being under his divine influence. So bottom line is that we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. We have to seek his aid and help. We say more than 17 times a day, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You know, indeed is you that we worship, and is your aid that we seek. Over 17 times a day. So we have to internalize that. Everything that you learn and you practice in the deen, if you're not practicing it, then you're not internalizing it. And you have to also know your weaknesses. You know, you can't feel or think that you're safe from falling into error. You have to look at yourself as always being bankrupt when it's related to you approaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it's related to you dealing with these illnesses that are festering continuously in your behavior, in your heart and in your mind. Shaytaan never sleeps. He's always your enemy. He's always going to be dealing with you, trying to cause you to go astray, and he has help among the mankind and the jinn. So you have to be careful, and you have to minimize who you deal with, and you have to be careful of who you befriend and who you place place in your company. If your friend is not trying to lead you or help you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you got to be a friend. If they're going to remain your friend, then you got to be a friend to them. In areas, you have to recognize your weaknesses, and sometimes your weaknesses is what leads you to give them minimum attention. And this is for the benefit of your own soul, because there's no bunk beds in the grave. There's no bunk beds in the casket. There's no bunk beds in the grave. You're gonna be in the grave by yourself. You're gonna stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by yourself, naked, just you and Allah subhanahu. And you're only gonna be able to answer any questions what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you to the ability, what he has decreed for you to answer. One thing that one of my teachers told me, that on Yawm al-Qiyamah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you any question, know that you will not go to Jannah that day. If he asks you any question related to your amal, your actions, related to any trust that you owe, related to, if he asks you any question other than the questions that are sound, that you're going to answer, that you fulfill, know that you're not going to Jannah that day. This is one of my teachers had explained to me, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is our creator. It's his decision if he's going to forgive us, overlook our faults, or pardon us. We can't, it's not a crap game. We can't roll the dice. You know, so we may come up snake eyes and be in the hellfire forever. You know, so we might roll the dice and we might get an 8 and only go there for a short time. Or we may roll the dice the first time and get an 11 and we go straight to paradise. Roll a 7 and go straight to paradise. I'm only using this metaphor I'm only using the metaphor of rolling the dice because of the seriousness of how we gamble with our soul. how we gamble with our understanding of the people of the old teachings of the Nation of Islam is that there's only a here and now of the next life in their early development of their movement. So inshallah ta'ala, next week I'm gonna continue with the next two sections of this chapter, and inshallah ta'ala with the conclusion of the text. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulil kareem. Ameen. Inshallah ta'ala, I'll see everyone Thursday. I'll be doing the Hizbullah this Thursday. I'm gonna try to put the Hizbullah in a PDF form and have it have it on the Zoom so that those who are in the Zoom in the class on Zoom can see the text and they can read along with me, inshallah. I'll be reading from the inshallah. I'll put it in the in messenger group on Facebook Messenger, in the Dhikr group, inshallah. Not in the Jamaat group, only in the Dhikr group. But I want to try to put in the category to where it's not going to be you got to open it as a link. I'm gonna put it to where it's pictures or screenshot or whatever, to where you can read it. You could, with pictures, you can blow them up, read it, and then close it. You know what I'm saying? From there, if you go from there, you could print it out yourself, inshallah. All right, so assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Have a good evening.